So we are saying government should spend 6%, but I mean, in reality, very few countries are spending over 6% of GDP on education. Very few countries are spending over that. Right? But let's look at the other side. We are now in the 1 to 2% category. We have fallen below 2%. Okay, so we are in the sort of pale yellow category. But you can see many countries are, or very few countries are below us. Okay, very few countries are below us, and you can see a few countries in the sub-Saharan region. Pakistan is there, Burma is there, and a few in Papua New Guinea, that side are there. Right? Sorry, Pakistan is there, yes. But many of the others, in fact, countries that are much poorer than us, are spending 3-4% on education. Okay, maybe, yeah. You may be absolutely right. Maybe so. Right? And also Pakistan has a higher percentage of private investment as well. Right? Now, ours private investment is virtually zero, right? Both at in the country. Outside the country, there is a lot of yeah. So this gives some kind of mapping of where we stand, right? And even in our own region, you can see it is much less. Right? So if you actually take countries like, say, the European countries, where it is over 6%, maybe 7-8% average in Western Europe, actually the percentage may be more than 12% because substantial private investment is there. The same can be said of the United States also. So you can see a lot of the higher income countries in total are spending over 10% of the GDP on education, right? So in our case, it must be like 2.5% at most, even if you add the private investment. Also on that other column, which you can't see very much, is the per student spending by each government. And in that, Luxembourg in Europe is spending 17,000 USD per student per year, right? 17,000 USD per student per year. And that is almost very close to the per capita income, right? Just there. I just did a calculation today of our spending. I think it comes to something like $200 for all students per year.
The figure is 2,000.
$200.
What is the figure you use? 200,000 rupees. Oh. What is
No, it's 25,000 rupees per student per year.
Per year at university?
No. All students. This is all students. This is all education, not university. University, I have the figures. So, I mean, compared to that, we are about $200. Okay. So, I mean, again, I think all the numbers seem to indicate we are way below what it should be.
Total underfunding.
Underfunding at all the sectors. Now, this is from the Central Bank annual report and various other things compiled in a World Bank document. And here they have plotted the public education spending against the GDP, adjusted for per capita purchasing power parity. And here you can see, as the GDP increases, the percentage government spend also increases. But we also know that as GDP increases, the contribution by private sector also increases. So actually the rate of this curve, if you add private sector investment also, would be much higher, right? So okay, we are at the bottom there. So all our SAARC countries are there, but according to them, we are at the bottom of that also. Okay. So again, we have a concern, and we know some of those countries like Pakistan, Nepal, and even Bangladesh have higher private investment in education than we have. Then this is again from a World Bank document released a few months ago, and let me read this. Public expenditure on education in Sri Lanka are modest when compared to middle income countries and other comparable nations. Education expenditure as a percentage of GDP is 1.9%, and as a proportion of the government budget is 7.3%. This is a smaller share of public investment in education among a cluster of countries that share common features with Sri Lanka. Public investment in education in Sri Lanka falls below the levels of East Asian countries such as South Korea, Malaysia, Thailand, and Singapore, Latin American countries such as Argentina, Brazil, Bolivia, Colombia, and Costa Rica, and of other South Asian nations such as India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Nepal. It is also well below the share of investment for middle-income countries as a whole. In fact, advanced middle-income countries normally invest about 4.6% of national income in education, which is more than double the share of national income devoted to education by Sri Lanka. So if we want, we are supposed to be a middle-income country, right? Maybe at the lower end of middle income. So what they say is that the average of the advanced middle-income countries is about 4.6%. Okay. So if if you want to go by a percentage GDP as a guideline, maybe 4.6%, 4.5% seems to be something we should be happy about, right? But as they themselves say, ours is less than what is there, and besides that, private investment is also not got off the ground. Okay, right. So why neglect higher education, right? Why? Government must have a reason, right? Obviously, one thing is your concentration on other sectors, right? But we have a rich history of education and all of that dating back a long time, right? Taking my own experiences and how professionals and so on have been treated and are considered nowadays. These are two hypotheses I have, right? Two hypotheses I have. One first hypothesis is educated people are not necessary for quote-unquote development. Okay, you have the ideas, you have the means, you have your people, you can do it, right? So why bother with educated people, right? The second hypothesis is universities that produce these people are a hindrance to development, right? Strikes, everybody strikes, like staff,